Hey witches, Tiffany here on Bewitching.Bemused. It is still so hot out. We're in the middle of a heat wave, which is why I'm recording this at 8 o'clock at night, which is why my lighting is a little different. And also, if you might get some interference in the background, because I've got a fan going, I've got the windows wide open, it is too hot to close it up right now. So sorry for that, but also sorry for that tangent. That's not why you're here. You are here to hear about where the Wheel of the Year came from. So just to be clear today, I am not going to focus on the individual sabbats. If you would like to know more about those, I have a full playlist dedicated to that. I don't have history on all the sabbats out just yet because that is a series that I am working on this year. But if you're watching this from the future, it might already be out. Oh, I am melting. This is why I didn't put full makeup on. The summer solstice was just 2 days ago and I am feeling it. Okay, so anyway, today we are going to talk about the present day Wheel of the Year as a whole and where it came from. So the Wheel of the Year as it stands today, the eightfold Wheel of the Year, is what you could consider a collaborative effort. The concept was originally suggested in the 1835 work Teutonic Mythology by scholar and mythologist Jacob Grimm. Like, sure, that was a long time ago, but that wasn't quite ancient pagan amount of time long ago. So the Wheel of the Year itself, as we know it now, is a pretty contemporary concept. It wasn't until the 1950s that neo-pagan leaders, Gerald Gardner, who we all know as the sort of founding father of neo-paganism and of course Wicca, as well as Ross Nichols, adopted the eightfold ritual calendar. So they were heavily influenced by the writings of Margaret Murray, whose works were problematic, but that's a topic for another time, Robert Graves, and James George Fraser. Now the actual term Sabbat, meaning, pagan holidays, was coined by Gerald Gardner, who claimed that the term was passed down from the Middle Ages. Well, we know now that a lot of what Gardner said was actually completely made up when it comes to things that he said was passed down through time, knowledge that he learned from some ancient long-standing coven, but that doesn't mean that these things didn't stick. It also doesn't take away from the legitimacy of the Wiccan tradition, but again, that's another topic for another time. Now, the different names for each Sabbat come from various different sources, and as you're probably already aware, each Sabbat has more than one name. Now, the most commonly used ones were assigned by Aidan Kelly, Gerald Gardner, and Doreen Valiente, and those were derived from a mix of Celtic and Anglo-Saxon resources. Now, so if you're debating over the use of Midsummer versus Letha, or you use the names Samhain and All Hallows Eve interchangeably, there's really no wrong name for them. Now, I know there's some debate about don't use the Christianized names of things, but personally, I still stick with there's no wrong name for them. Use what works for you, use what speaks to you most. As I go through the histories of each of the Sabbats throughout the coming year, again, videos that can be found in my playlist, linked below, I'll do my best to outline the origins of the meanings of each of the names, so you can make an informed decision of what you want to call them. Or just go with the one that you think sounds the best. It's totally up to you. If you're hungry for a little extra information right now, I did include a link down below to an article written by Aidan Kelly about where he got some of the names for some of the Sabbats. So, great, cool, that's all very modern. What did we actually get from the ancient pagans? Well, we do know that the Anglo-Saxon, Germanic, and Norse peoples celebrated the solstices and equinoxes, while the ancient Celts celebrated what we now refer to as the cross-quarter days with fire festivals. Now, it would be way too much to break down the customs and traditions of every single Sabbat in this video. But those customs and traditions that we know and celebrate today are also made up of what little we still know what has survived time of original pagan customs and traditions, as well as what was either preserved or added in during Christianization, and newer observations. that reflect the changes of each part of the year cycle. And of course, all of these things come from various different cultures and various different time periods. Like I said, collaborative effort. The interpretation of each Sabbat also varies widely, but the turning of the wheel generally represents the cycle of birth, life, death, rebirth that we observe in nature, in crops, in seasonal changes, and in the sun, as well as the way that we see those things reflected in our own life cycles and our own annual years. Now, in certain customs and traditions, this is painted symbolically and personified in narrative form, such as the cycles of the Wiccan god and goddess, or the ongoing feud between the Holly and Oak kings. And so yes, I should make note that the most popular version of the Wheel of the Year is based on the Wiccan Wheel of the Year. But other branches of paganism, such as the Druids or the Heathens, do have their own versions. The dates, however, do tend to fall on or about the same times, and at the end of the day, for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, we are all just celebrating the shifting of the seasons and the solar cycle. I would also like to note that the traditional Wheel of the Year was invented in Britain, which means that the dates are set for the Northern Hemisphere. Pagans in the Southern Hemisphere would be celebrating a mirrored version of this. While those of us in the Northern Hemisphere just celebrated our summer solstice, those in the Southern Hemisphere would have been celebrating their winter solstice. Our autumnal equinox is their spring equinox, and so on and so forth. So although the eightfold Wheel of the Year, marking the neo-pagan sabbats, is a generally new concept, the annual observations that it represents are quite old. I'm of the opinion that just because something is new doesn't necessarily mean it's any less legitimate. Remember that so much was lost to time, so we're really just doing the best that we can with the knowledge that we have. And we also lead such drastically different lives than the ancient pagans did that we have to make this contemporary Wheel of the Year still relevant in today's time, in our lives now and in our cultures. But the great thing is that the concept of celebrating the natural cycle of life is absolutely timeless. It has always been of importance, and it always will be of importance. And that, if nothing else, celebrating that is one thing that I know, at least for me, really helps me feel connected to my ancient ancestors. So there you have it. That's about everything that I have for you today on the origins of the Wheel of the Year. Like I said earlier, if you want more knowledge on the individual sabbats, their meanings, how they're celebrated, different things like that, the link to that full playlist is down below in the description box. I would also love to hear your thoughts on the contemporary version of the Wheel of the Year. Are there parts of it that just don't really speak to you and you don't observe? Because there's, of course, nothing wrong with that. Do you observe all of them? Why? Why not? So on and so forth. Hit the thumbs up if you like it. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. And if you would like to dig a little bit deeper into the history of what we still know about these ancient pagan festivals, there are some links also in the description box with some book recommendations that I have for you. So have fun with that, everybody. I will talk to you all soon. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend, and I hope you had a great summer solstice. That's it for now. Stay magical.